Okay, so as a guy who's followed sports my whole life, I
Mhm.
know when people know sports. And we've talked a lot over the years, but we've never had a sports conversation. But I've noticed in different times you'll point out, oh, the Thunder, you notice that, or you just say things where I just like, Brandon knows sports. Even though we don't talk it, he
Uh,
knows it. So what is your sports state now and what has it been? Because I know
well,
you
ever
know.
since, so my dad was a fan, so I grew up a fan. My
Mhm.
early memories, I remember like going to school in first grade and my brother telling me, I think maybe it was when I was like kindergarten. The Twins won the World Series in 87. I was born in 81.
Okay.
And so I think I was, yeah, in first grade. And
Okay.
I remember my brother telling me, oh, the Twins won the World Series. I'm like, what? And he's like, no, they won it all. They won the world. They're the best team in baseball. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
they are not. I didn't believe him. And then I found out when I got to school. So that's probably my first memory. Um, Although the 87 year of the Vikings went to the championship game, I won't get in every year. But these are just some highlights.
Hmm.
And I was so young and then too. I remember the game being on at my uncle's place and not knowing how close it was, but we dropped a fourth down pass at the goal line
Hmm.
and we lost. So Washington won, and then they went on to win the Super Bowl.
Was that the Steve Rippon or Mark Rippon? Mark Rippon or Doug Williams? Remember?
That was Williams, and maybe Rippon was no, that was like in the '91, wasn't it? Well, yeah, Doug
Either way,
Williams won that
Doug Williams. Okay,
World
first black
Series.
quarterback. Yeah.
He won that Super Bowl. Yep, yep.
Thanks for being part of
Um,
that historical journey. Yeah.
it is historic, yeah, because he was the first black quarterback. Um, and then the Twins won the World Series like 4 years later in '91. So now I'm in fifth grade. I remember staying up late and watching that with Dad.
Hmm.
The North Stars had a appearance in the Stanley Cup playoffs in there where they got smoked by the Penguins, I think. Um, and the Timberwolves started, and we were lousy forever and are today. Anyway, the big thing though was the Vikings, and my dad was a huge Vikings fan, so I became a huge Vikings fan. And when um, you know, the Vikings, I think, are probably the hardest team to watch. And I think a lot of people say that about their team, whether it's the Browns or the Lions or the Dolphins or you name it, a lot of disappointment, the Bills. But the Vikings tease you so much. And I had a couple of really bad teases, one in
Hmm.
high school, one in college, when they went
Well,
to
I
the
know the
NFC
high school and
Championship game.
I know the high school and Gary Anderson, right?
Yeah, I cried. I was so glued to the Vikings that year. Monday morning, I'd go to school, and me and my friend would open up the Star Tribune, the Minneapolis newspaper,
Hmm.
and read the stats. Oh, our running back got 128 yards. Robert Smith, of course,
Robert
I knew his
Smith.
name.
Yep.
Yep, John Randle got 1.5 sacks,
Hmm.
whatever it was. Of course, Randy Moss was a rookie. But they lost, and I was just shocked. It was my first huge disappointment in sports, and what a doozy. I remember I cried, and we were going on a school ski trip
I'm not
that,
laughing because you cried. I'm laughing because I understand that pain. Yes.
yeah, I almost feel normal because I've watched videos online where Saints fans have been like almost in tears, and Bears fans because of some of the heartbreaking losses over the last few years. And now I'm like, I wasn't the only one. Like,
No, that shit
so
hurts.
I got so wrapped up in sports, it became like a 10-hour thing in college now. I'm watching football from 11 a.m. And if the Vikings win, I want to keep watching, and I'm following all the teams. I'm
Hmm.
looking at all the stats, fantasy football. If the Vikings lose, I'm like, who cares? I'm mad.
How have we never had this conversation? Because I mean, I have a very similar sports. Maybe we both
Because
knew that we needed to not. We
when I
because
met
we
you
both
10
ventured
years
very
ago,
away.
I started breaking away from sports when I got sober in my mid 20s.
Well, good for
And
you.
sports I still recognize how sports would just draw me in, how
Hmm.
I'd get totally attached to it. I'd watch every pitch of a Twins game when they're playing like the Yankees, something important. And, a friend would talk and I wouldn't listen. I had to watch every pitch. I mean, it was nuts. So I'm like, I got to break away from this. So I remember
Yeah.
scheduling things. I was tutoring some Somalians one year, doing some like English learning deal. This is probably 12 years ago or more. And I said, let's do it Sunday afternoons. I said,
Mhm.
and so I would schedule things over the Vikings games, so I wouldn't stay home and watch them. What's funny though is that like 2:55 or 2:45 would roll around, and I would say, "Hey, Faduma, do you mind if we turn the TV on for a minute?" And I'm like, "I'm going to teach you some American culture. How about that?" Yeah, this is good old American.
This
You
for
want to know
you.
this?
This is for you.
Yeah, just for her. Yeah, learn some new words or some math in terms of yards to go and whatnot. And I remember once watching the Vikings beat the Bears at her place. So it's been a slow breakaway, but it's funny how I'm still like, I don't think that's ever going to go away, because 2 years ago when the Vikings were good again, they got to the playoffs. They played the Saints in the first round. They were given no chance. Nobody picked them to win. Like every talking head in sports, ESPN, Fox News, whatever, or Fox Sports, they were all like, Saints. Oh yeah, I mean, they're a division winner. They're home field advantage. Vikings kind of backed into the playoffs, wild card, and the Vikings won.
Stephon Diggs, Kirk Cousins.
That was a different one. I remember that one very well too. But the one 2 years ago was an overtime bomb that got us down within the 5-yard line in overtime. So if you're down that close.
Oh wait, that wasn't the Stephon Diggs one?
No, it was 2 years after that, I think. Stephon Diggs was like, I remember that well too, but
that was crazy. That was the Saints.
Just 2 years ago. I am, a year and a half ago, really, because it's May and this would have been December or January of that year. I'm in my apartment. I'm like, okay, I'll turn it on. I don't give them a chance to win, but I'll turn it on in the fourth quarter, and we're up. And I'm like, oh, good, just enough to tease me before they break my heart again.
Yeah.
And it gets to overtime, which I'm like, oh, great, because we were up. And then we get to like 45-yard line, and we throw a bomb, and Adam Thielen catches it, and I just go, yes. And I'm like, what? Oh, geez. It's like, you can't take it out of me.
You can't.
It's just instinct. I'm just thrilled.
Yeah.
Yes, we.
Now I don't use one of my cardinal rules, or I never refer to the team as we.
I don't either, but you know what? In my heart it is. In your heart it is. Otherwise, why would you?
Well, and I do think that
I don't say it either. I never say we won, but you know what? To me, that's an extension of my ego. I gave them a chunk of my ego when I was 10, and it built throughout high school, and it's like, I can't ever undo that. It feels like I can distance myself. And last year was easy to distance. One, there was no one in the stands.
Yeah.
Vikings weren't doing well. So I was just like, I hardly watched the down all last year. And
I'm with you. I don't say we because it feels, I guess in a way it feels kind of arrogant or some, I don't know, whatever. I'm not out there sweating and whatever. But when I think about like the Thunder, I have been a fan since the second they moved to Oklahoma City. I emotionally, time-wise, I've given so much. I am part of that. The team, I'm part of that team. I'm part of that culture. So when I say we, I can say we, even though I don't. I know I can, and I probably should. But no, so I'm kind of like you. I have been a sports fan my whole life, but I've kind of been weeding myself off of sports. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of started, where one year I'm like, the NFL kind of just was getting my nerves from some of the way they conduct their business. It was, in a weird, okay. So it was the Deflategate Tom Brady season where the NFL suspended him for deflating footballs, where it's kind of funny. The thing that got me, I'm not a huge Patriots fan. I'm not a Patriots fan. I'm not a Tom Brady fan. But what pissed me off as much as anything, concussions, this and that, denying of that and all this, was Deflategate, because it was basically, from a scientific standpoint, there was no way Tom Brady, they had evidence that he was deflating balls. It just wasn't there, but yet they wanted him, for whatever reason, to take one of the biggest stars and make him a scapegoat for who knows why. And the science behind it is what pissed me off the most, that I said, screw this league. If they can't believe in basic science, then that's just another reason why I don't need to watch. So I boycotted the NFL for a year. And I watch, but I don't have a whole lot of investment.
Who's been your team?
So, and that's probably one of the main reasons is that I don't care as much. I being from Oklahoma, there's no team here, so I would bounce around. So as a kid, I loved like the Saints and the Falcons because they had cool uniforms. Like I was pulling for the Falcons when they beat
Oh no.
your Vikings. So anyway,
Oh wow.
and they got blasted in the Super Bowl. But my real teams were the Chargers. Well, was the Chargers when they were in San Diego. I lived there. They had LaDainian Tomlinson, who's probably to this day one of my top two athletes or favorite football players. Him and Steve Smith, the receiver from Carolina. But I love LT, and I got him in his prime, at his peak, and it was just I love them. But they were one of those teams that kind of like the Vikings, they'd get to the right there to the door, they'd knock on it, and then they do something stupid. And then I, I was a Vikings fan. I liked the Vikings. I was there doing Adrian Peterson years and watching that stupid team where, taking Adrian Peterson out on third downs made no sense, but whatever. But anyway, I've since kind of gotten off that train. But last night, so I'm like you though, the Thunder are the only team that I really care about, but I can still get excited for just random sporting events. Like last night, the Warriors and the Lakers were playing. And I don't know do you know anything about the game last night?
No, is it playoffs now?
So they're doing this new thing in the NBA where they have this play-in game, right? So both conferences, you have the top 6 are in the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Usually 7 and 8 are in the playoffs, but this year 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 have a chance to get in the playoffs. So 7 and 8 have a 1-game playoff where the winner of 7 and 8 gets to be the 7th seed. And then you have 9 and 10. Whoever wins that game gets to play the loser of 7 and 8, and the winner of that game gets to be the 8th seed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it adds this extra thing. Clever. So this year, so the Warriors were the 7th seed the Warriors were the 8th seed, the Lakers were the 7th seed. Both teams were traditionally really good, but they had injuries and all that. So last night, this game between the Lakers and the Warriors in the play-in game was phenomenal. Steph Curry is the only player. I mean, he's going nuts, hitting threes. LeBron James he's a little rusty in the first half, but comes back in the second half and is just carrying the team. So they get down to the last possession and it's a tie, or the last minute, tie game. Steph Curry is known for bombing threes from damn near half court. So what happens this game? So LeBron James, a few plays later, he got scraped in the eye, and the whole time he's just from that point on, he's just like, I can't even see my eye, I can't see. This dude, this he gets the ball, and time is running out on the shot clock. With under a minute to go, he's 5 feet behind the 3-point line, throws a 3 up, and what does it do? Nothing but net, goes in. Steph Curry is guarding him, and so the guy who normally would hit the 3 from long range has to watch LeBron James hit this 3, and that was it. The Warriors got the ball and then couldn't score. But it was just this. You look at LeBron, who's 35, 36. You think he should be at the end of his career, and the dude just keeps doing amazing things. Amazing.
Where was this? Was this in LA or in the Bay Area?
It was in LA, and last night. I ended up going to just kind of the neighborhood bar, just kind of was sitting there because I just enjoy, like if it's a Thunder game, I'm watching it at home because I'm probably going to be stressed, if it's a major game. But even like this, I just want to be around people and just, even if it's people I'm not even talking to, there's just a public energy. I'm sitting there and just, nobody's really even paying attention because it's whatever, but I'm just glued in. And anyway, it was just amazing. It was amazing. But that's just one of those moments where I'm like, how are you not going nuts? He just hit from almost half court, LeBron James, Steph Curry, and people are like,
Yeah, those are like the truth, the aspects of sports that supersede our tribe, which is a huge aspect of sports, enormous. But some people, the other aspect is we just like to watch athletes perform under pressure.
It's greatness.
Yeah, it is.
Potential.
It is. It's a form of. I'm more impressed by it when there's an audience. Like, was there even anyone in the audience?
There was limited capacity, but there were people there. It wasn't.
Okay, well, that's good. Like, I remember watching LeBron, and he's like 19 or whatever, like hit these clutch free throws, and I remember thinking like, I would be nervous shooting free throws if I was playing a pickup game and it was for the win.
Yeah.
Do it as a 19-year-old. I mean, I was blown away that he could handle that pressure. So from like a psychological and of course biological standpoint, it's amazing. It is.
It's well, and as far as I can kind of look at it critically, like, okay, I shouldn't let, like you were saying earlier, I shouldn't let whether my team wins or loses dictate my mood for the rest of the day or the week or whatever. I should not. That's a little too much. It's going to happen, but I need to know that it's just a game. These are, for the most part, 20-year-olds, kids playing, not kids, but young adults playing this game, and I shouldn't let my mood be dictated by them. But anyway, it happens. But there was this kind of moment right around the time LeBron hits this shot. I think I reacted to it, and then there's this bartender comes over, and it was karaoke night, so people were singing. She always sings these shows like musical numbers that are all dramatic and all in place. Nobody really wants to hear them, but that's her thing. And I'm all for musical songs, but something about it been done in karaoke multiple times just feels like the mood, whatever. So anyway, she looks at me and she says, you pay attention to that? And I said, yeah, it's beautiful. Like, it's art. Like, how can you not appreciate, I mean, you can go to a musical and watch people on stage perform and do the lines and you can be impressed by it. This is the same thing, except there's no script. There's no known outcome. Anything can happen. And when you put the most talented athletes on the planet on a stage and give them a reason to win, like, there's anything can happen. And last night, something amazing kind of happened. And I kind of find it so kind of confusing that people who are into certain types of competition or certain types of, showmanship don't appreciate sports, because it's the ultimate reality TV, right?
There's no, well, it's not the ultimate reality TV if you care about, I mean, because it's and of course there are interpersonal factors. We all know this. That's why we like to see LeBron and Steph Curry, because we watch them play in the championship a few times.
Yeah.
So we know the backstory, but that, if you like pure drama, you're going to want to straight up just watch, Desperate Housewives. I don't even know what's on TV right now.
Nothing
nothing. You want to watch a show that's all about relationships, basically, and life and real life situations that are like, sports is just a proxy for, like, they're just athletes out there doing an athletic thing.
But there's drama within think about,
there is
like when
the
Warriors,
that within the game, and it's not a game that people all appreciate. Like, there's that too. Like, I like the X's and O's of football myself, but if someone doesn't like that, then okay. But there are many aspects to it, right? There's the ego aspect, like my team. I when the Vikings win, I win, right? Like that's the ego thing. And then there's like, wow, look at that great catch. So there's the appreciation for the athleticism and the human body and all that. There's the performance under pressure, the psychological aspect. And then there's like the strategic, the X's and O's. Who do you put on there? Who do you give the ball to at the end? Right. So there's a lot there to like, a lot there to not care about. And when it gets political, like you mentioned, as it's getting more and more, right, people hate the NBA because of LeBron too. So there's a lot in the sports that, pull or push people away. It's fascinating, really, as like it's too bad it doesn't bring more people together, because it has in the past, right? Like when the Twins won the World Series, every Minnesotan, I think, other maybe a couple, but everyone was super happy, right? It brings sports and the military are the two best racial integrators that we got. And of course there are more, but those two things are like, we're on the same team, we're fighting together. I don't care anything about, you or whatever. Like we're brothers. We're here fighting together.
Now, okay, so we're gonna shift topics, but I want to throw one thing at you. One of the most confounding things in sports that I've never understood. Were you a big North Stars fan?
Well,
Hockey
remember I
team.
told you I watched them when I was very little play in the Stanley Cup, but I was too young to care. I was like in, gosh, third, fourth grade. I really didn't care then about hockey. We never played hockey either.
Yeah.
So, but they were the Minnesota team, Mike Modano, I think. And all I knew is that we got smoked by the Penguins, I think.
Makes sense.
But that was
You
the
probably.
North. And then soon after, they left the state and went down to
Okay.
Dallas.
So this is
Dallas
what I want to
Stars.
ask you about. They went to Dallas. What is their
Yep.
name in Dallas?
What's that?
There were the North Stars in Minnesota. Who are they? The Dallas what?
Stars.
Okay. Why are they not what is the nickname for Texas? It's the what state?
Oh, why are they not the Lone Stars? Yeah. Yeah. That's a great question. I never thought of that.
I'm sure it's some copyright thing, but they went from the
Must be.
North Stars
Because how could they
to
not
the
think that?
state named the Lone Star State, but yet they're just the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a question for Google. It's funny when teams don't change their names, and they should, like Utah Jazz and
The Lakers.
LA Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
That's Minneapolis team.
Yeah. George
You know,
Mikan.
What's going on? So now they're LA Lakers. I don't know how many lakes there are around in the LA area. Not maybe.
Not many. I don't
Yeah.
think. Yeah. There's an ocean, but not many lakes.